Brilliant. So welcome, guys. I am delighted to welcome Mr. David Rahman again, helping us get past those demons, those roadblocks, finding ways to sort this bit out here. This is where his expertise lies. We all know it's just a box of frogs in there, isn't it? Going all over the place and keeping your control of what's going on up there is half the battle when you're in business, guys. And David's just got an awesome way of presenting these ideas, and that's why we always love having him on, because I know that he talks such sense, and you guys love him. Now today, David, welcome. We've got procrastination, the devil that is.
The devil that is, yeah. I wanted to talk about procrastination and just share some ideas with everyone to help them beat it.
Brilliant.
And it would be great if you guys, if you're watching the recording, great, just please watch it all the way through and share the ideas with your colleagues or friends, that it would just reinforce it within yourself. So I'd love to share some ideas through some slides.
Fantastic. Awesome, guys. If you want to use the chat, feel free, and I will moderate that. And we'll have some Q&As at the end, I'm sure. And you can always just put your little messages in the chat, and I'll flag it up if there's anything that's relevant at the time. But with all that said, David, all yours. Really looking forward to this one, mate.
I'm just going to drop into the slides now, if I may. So
Brilliant.
I'll just stop my video and I will go into the slides and share them. There they are, and then I'll try and minimize that. Okay, so if I could go in the slides, and this is called Welcome, How to Stop Procrastination. And it is something that affects every single person on this planet, including myself. And we just have to remind ourselves that we're doing it and really adopt one of the techniques I want to share with you. But first of all, I'd just like to really ask, what do you think procrastination is? And it's the inability, it's quite simply the inability to undertake, finish a given task. So this could be making a phone call to someone you really need to call, but you just keep putting it off. Or you need to do a website, or you need to get the graphics done, something, or given task, or form part of a routine in a given time. So as business owners, we have challenges where sometimes we're procrastinating, we're putting something off, and this may frustrate or annoy yourself. You may be left feeling frustrated or annoyed. So that's something that has stopped people from being successful. And if it stops you from being successful, you get frustrated and annoyed. And sometimes we're doing it to ourselves. So look at procrastination as something that you can beat, but also something that it's the equivalent to self-sabotage. So even though you're doing it, you're still sabotaging yourself by sabotaging your time and your energy, because eventually, more often than not, you've still got to do what you've got to do. So why put it off? So I wanted to share with you, well, why put it off? Why do people put it off? So there's 5 types of procrastinator. 5 types of procrastinator. So it's like the Terminator, except this one has come to self-sabotage you. So what I would do is, hopefully you've got a pen and paper. I always recommend when I'm watching a workshop or anything live, I have a pen and paper just to write stuff down quickly as I go along. So it depends on your modality, but I would say pen and paper is good. So the 5 types of procrastinator. The first one is the chicken. So I want you to think, which one are you if you procrastinate? I know you procrastinate. We all do. It's a human thing. It's just like breathing, but it's something that we have to take ownership of. So chicken, always putting things off. The chicken. It's like running around the farmyard, doing one thing and doing another thing, and then going into the chicken coop and then running towards the farmhouse, but always putting things off, doing other stuff when you know you could or should be doing that. So procrastination could be going to the gym. It could be you know you've got this marathon booked for later on and you haven't even started. Or procrastination could even be stuff like doing your bed in the morning. You just keep putting it off. So what could you be putting off? Now, I'm really into helping people change behaviors, but if you can identify, rather than just put a band-aid and learn tools and strategies, identify. When we identify why we're doing it and what we're doing, it's often half the battle then when we apply a new way of thinking. So chickens always putting things off, and it's an emotional thing actually, because when we do sort of engage in that, it's because we're trying to avoid a certain type of feeling. So it could be that we think the task that we've got in hand is exhaustive. Look back at anything that you've done where you've actually felt, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And even in that sentence, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. It shows to you that you've actually been thinking about it and thinking it's bad or it's bigger than you thought it was and it's going to take you forever. And as a consequence, you put it off. So, I remember somebody putting off something. I think she posted on social media. It taken her 2 years to get to the point where she did it in 2 days. So I remember we did I think it was Loretta Williams. It was live on air and we did a thing on procrastination and I taught her some techniques, and it took her 2 years to write this manual, to get around to doing it, and she wrote it in less than 2 days in the end. And she went on and described it. So she said she was the chicken, always putting it off. So the first one is the chicken. The second one is the ostrich. There should be a bracket there. There's the perfectionist in the notes in that. So ostrich is really putting your head in the ground and avoiding. So this is the avoider. So the chicken doesn't know where to start and is always avoiding doing something and doing other things at the same time. Whereas the ostrich is just putting their head in the ground, and completely avoiding what needs to be done. It could be making a decision. Have you been sitting there and wanting to make a decision, but you're just not making it? Are you planning on doing something, but you just seem to be, in inverted commas, not getting around to it? Have you been thinking about starting something but not doing it? Is there something that's necessary in your, but you just keep putting your head in the ground because you think the payoff is not worth the trouble to get there, and you keep putting your head in the ground. It could be something like booking an appointment with the dentist or the opticians, but you fear being told bad news, so you put your head in the ground and avoid doing it. So it doesn't have to be just business, it could be something personal like that, or in your relationship. So that's the second one, the ostrich. And I hope you're getting these analogies. The daredevil. Now, the daredevil, it was typical of me, for example, in school. I would leave my exam revision to the last minute. So who out there? Is anybody out there watching this? Would anybody else leave their revision to the last minute? Because I would. Chris or Peter, anybody watching this on the record, who would actually live to the last minute? And it's because it's like the daredevil. It's almost like a rush, an adrenaline rush to get it done and the last minute. And I've got more time than I thought. And is that called Moore's Law? I can't quite remember the name. It could be Moore's Law, where it's the time allocated for a project often takes that time to actually complete the project. So if you give somebody 7 days to do the assignment, it usually takes them 7 days to do it, but they usually started on the 7th day. We've all done it where we've started right at the end. Peter says definitely. So it's a natural thing, because sometimes we overestimate the time and sometimes we underestimate the time taken to complete it. But it's something that we've all done. So the daredevil gets a thrill. So the payoff here could be the thrill of it, the last minute. And perfectionists wants everything to be perfect. This is the fourth archetype of procrastinator, a perfectionist. So the perfectionist is wanting everything to be just so. I mean, it could be somebody who is writing a book. It's just going to be perfect. Oh, that chapter 2, I need to get that perfect before I go into chapter 3, rather than just getting a first draft. Every single chapter has to be perfection before they get to the end. You know, it could be building a website. Everything has to be perfect. I know I'm guilty of that. Everything has to be perfect before you launch it. Well, why not launch it, as Grant says, and actually work on it as you go along? Because at the end of the day, it has a functionality to it. So that's something that I've learned, you know. So we at some level have a perfectionist depth to us. It could be much to your, let's have a look, somebody's mentioned something. I'm not getting worried, I'm taking it. What I want you to think about is where is it impacting you in your life? You know, perfection, where's it impacting? Because when you're on your deathbed one day, you're not going to be lying there wanting perfection. And perhaps you'll be lying there thinking, why did I spend so much time wasting or overthinking stuff when I could have just got it done? And it's good to get things right, but in reality, nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. In this planet, the best things are not perfect. No, there's no perfect looking mountain or perfect looking lake. They're just natural raw beauty. And when we can apply that to anything, it's so beautiful. But perfectionists, having worked with people who are perfectionists, there's an emotional reason why they do it. It's because something like they may not feel good enough. They feel anxiety, fear. And what's the anxiety and fear? The fear is the feeling of, again, not being good enough, feeling of being a failure. If it is not perfect, I'm a failure. But where does that failure come from? If we work backwards, that failure could have been something that they failed an exam when they were 12 years old. And after that, they become a perfectionist. There's always a root cause, which is fascinating. As a coach, as a mind coach, I love the etiology, the reason why somebody thinks the way they do and then behaves the way they do. So perfectionists tend to actually have some fear that presents itself. So that's why they become a perfectionist. And therefore, as a consequence, they can then, unfortunately, procrastinate. So the final one, I believe that's the final one, is self-saboteur, worried and afraid. So again, self-saboteur, worried and afraid is when we're worried is, you know, again, it's not perfect, or we're afraid that we might fail, that it doesn't look good enough. So we tend to self-sabotage ourselves. Again, they're all examples of sabotage, but the self-saboteur could be someone who actually doesn't feel good enough to succeed. So if you can imagine that you don't feel good enough to succeed, you might sabotage, inadvertently sabotage. And it's not something that you say, today I'm going to wake up, I'm going to sabotage my business. What you do is you do it unconsciously. You do it without even thinking. You know, remember that most of our habits are not even conscious, because an unconscious behavior or subconscious behavior becomes a habit and it's automated. It's just the same as, you know, when you're driving home from the office or you're driving home from the supermarket, there could be 2 or 3 ways of getting home, but you always choose the same way. Inadvertently, we have a favorite way of going. And what we do is we lock into that destination of our home through our favorite way of going home, and we don't even think. So we're talking to our wife or our spouse or our husband when we're driving back and not even remembering or navigating the journey, because it's already locked in. And because it's locked in, we don't even know. We don't even know which way we've gone home. So self-saboteur. Self-saboteur as, let's have a look at this. 2 people waiting to come in. Let's just let them in. Hello, everyone. So self-saboteur is something that you've got to recognize in yourself. For the guys who just came in, I'll just quickly just mention the 5 types of procrastinator. You'll have to go back on this video later on. The chicken, always putting things off. Ostrich, head in the ground. Daredevil, last minute rush. Perfectionist, wants everything perfect. And self-saboteur, worried or afraid. Now, there are 2 sentences. I want you to recognize this. Now you've recognized the 5 types of saboteur, so 5 types of procrastinator. I want you to recognize the 2 sentences which fuel procrastination. Number 1, I will do it later. Anybody on this call ever say to themselves, I will do it later? Do you want to pop it in the chat box? Does anybody say, I will do it later? Chris says all the time. This is where we can recognize it, bring it to the surface. It's like an iceberg. Peter says, yes, bring it to the surface. When you bring it to the surface, you can deal with it. You cannot deal with stuff if you're hiding it under the surface. And that goes for me as well, goes for all of us. So it's a recognition thing, recognition, awareness, and then this decision to make to do something about it. That's what makes people successful in business. They decide, I want to do something about it. They make a decision. Decision comes from the Latin word decidere, which means to cut off. When you've made a decision, you've decided, I'm going to do it. So I will do it later, again, is a decision to do it later, but you're putting it off. So you've got to recognize, why am I putting it off? What is the emotion behind that? I will do it later. Now, the second sentence is, this could be the worst 3 words you ever comes out of your mouth. I know that. It's like when you're guilty of, somebody says something to you and you say, oh yeah, I know that. But you still go ahead and do it. We still go ahead and self-sabotage. We still go ahead and, we say somebody might be reaching out to clients and they're quite aware that they need to make about 20 calls in the morning or 20 calls in the afternoon. And they say, well, I know that. But they don't do anything about it. So again, you've got to think about, I know that is a form of procrastination. Again, I know that is like a step back, putting it off. Again, I will do it later. I know that. So catch yourself thinking that, and then take an action. Again, it could be you have to make the calls, you have to make a decision, but you are failing to do it because you're afraid you might fail. You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of not being liked. You're afraid of being shouted at by a potential lead. So there's always a fear aspect. You love what you do, hopefully. You love your business. You love what you do. But there's a fear on the other end of the scale. And that's the bit that often wins. So recognize that. When the power to do, because of you love what you do, is greater than the fear element, you'll take action constantly and you just dive in. When you realize, right, I can fail, and it happens, I'm going to fail. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's how you respond straight away. I mean, this morning I did this long walk this morning, about 8 to 9 Ks. It was around the Penarth Arena. Grant knows it well, Penarth Arena. So I passed the old office and I was just bombing along. And I was just wearing, it was freezing outside, but I was wearing a denim jacket, a t-shirt and jeans, but it was freezing, to put it mildly. And I thought, right, because I always I love my coffee, as Grant knows. And so I thought I would just pop by this restaurant cafe called The Deck, and I'll have a coffee. So as I approached it, I saw it, and it was all boarded up. They were closed. So I could have felt like a victim, disappointment, annoyed, oh, I've come all this way, but I just carried on walking. I thought, no, the universe is going to give me something better. Let it go, David, let it go. Just trust and keep walking. So I walked across the barrage, and you've got to have, it's an attitude. You've got to have an attitude of gratitude and an attitude of awareness. And this is something, so I had to do that and continue to do that. And everyone around me was just staring at me. They were wearing bobble hats and coats, and I was just wearing a denim jacket. So I got into the bay, and then I stopped at this cafe, Cadwallader's, and they made the most amazing mocha. It's like a mochaccino I've had in years. Most amazing. And I just sat there, bathed in sunlight inside that place, sunlight coming in, feeling really good. So I believe that happened because I invited it in, rather than being negative and blaming myself. Why did I walk all that way around to be disappointed? Take that disappointment and shove it aside. Okay, so it's all about taking action. So action could be with your attitude as well. You can procrastinate with your attitude. You can put your attitude off. So procrastination is not just the behavior of doing things, it's actually taking charge of your mindset as well. So remember that what you learn is influenced by the people you communicate with. Okay, so I want you to think about the people you communicate with. The top 5 people you communicate with. This is a reminder, if you haven't heard this before, your happiness, the way you look at the world, is determined by the 5 people that you spend most time communicating with. So that could be your mum, your neighbor, 2 of your colleagues, could be a wife. Who are the 5 people you're communicating with most? And the communication could be by email, it could be messenger, it could be verbally, it could be visually on a screen like this, it could be face to face. What are the 5 entities or people that you're communicating with? An example could be a WhatsApp group, that you belong to a WhatsApp group, and it's a very negative WhatsApp group, and every time your phone pings, it comes up with some negative BS, and that's bringing you down. So think about the 5 entities, people, things that are your main communication route. So, and the main thing, I'm going to mute Gerdov. Welcome. So what I want to think about is who do you communicate with? It's like a wake-up call. This is, who do you communicate with? It's so important you communicate with the right people, especially if you're in business every day, and not be influenced by the wrong people. So what do we, what can we procrastinate with? Besides our businesses, we can procrastinate with our diet. You mean to lose weight, but you're just putting it off. Because remember, a lot of the greatest entrepreneurs in the world, people in business, actually do value their health, their diet, their fitness. They do value their sleep. Tony Robbins has been famous for he only sleeps to 2 or 4 hours a night. He's very famous for that. And the video that he put on only 2 days ago, his mindset has reversed totally, because he's obviously been speaking to the sleep experts, and I thought, I bet he's been I bet he's been talking to Matthew Walker. And I looked on the post, and he did mention it, that Professor Matthew Walker of the Sleep Institute in California recommends 7 hours sleep. And guess how many hours Tony now sleeps? He said 6 to 7 hours sleep per night, which is almost double what he's been sleeping all his life, because he was saying the value of sleep. What they've said is that when your sleep improves, well, interesting that he mentioned that already I'd heard before, was that when the clocks go forward in anywhere in the world, like it has recently here in the UK, the next day heart attacks jumped by 23% because of that 1 hour lack of sleep. And I'd heard this years ago. Very interesting. The NHS here in the UK saw a lot more heart attacks the very next day and it just happened to coincide with springtime, with the shift in the seasons and the hour going forward. When the clocks go back in the fall, in autumn, heart attacks dropped by 21%. So there was a clear demarcation between sleep, so don't procrastinate in your sleep, and health. So that was something to do with wellness, and I know I've just touched on diet. So it's so important that the most successful people on the planet don't look at things like diet and wellness as something that's a luxury. It's not a luxury. If you're a business owner, it's not a luxury. So you can tell I'm passionate about this. Writing a book. I wrote a book, and I did procrastinate over it, but I got past that, because for me, what did it mean to write a book and share the knowledge? It meant more than putting it off. Obviously, housework is something I hate doing, and I can really procrastinate on that. But that's something that we have to do. Exercise is something that I will do, and I don't procrastinate on that. It's a must do. It's an absolute non-negotiable. There's 2 words you can think about that can transform your life. Non-negotiable. Which is, what can I make in my life non-negotiable? So if you want to write that sentence down and put it on the wall, on a post-it note, what can I make in my life non-negotiable? Because it's transformative. if you make something non-negotiable, it means it has to be done. If it's an option, then you may, depending on your mood, just not do it. You may not do the exercise. I don't go running every day, but most days I do some sort of exercise. Students, dissertations, projects, paying bills, we put it off because we fear losing money, or we fear, I want to keep this, so I don't have enough in my account. If you haven't, of course you haven't got enough, you haven't got enough. But paying the bills, we can put it off. Making that phone call, it could be making that phone calls. We're afraid what the person might say. We're afraid of rejection. We're afraid it might hurt their feelings. There's something that causes us to flip the switch and put it off, take an action. So I want you to think about, how can you flip that switch so that you don't put off action? Look back at your life and realize, wow, actually a lot of stuff that I put off in my life, I didn't really need to put off, but I did. So what causes us to procrastinate? What causes us? I just want to give you some reasons what causes us to sort of expand on what I've been talking about. Laziness. Some people are inherently lazy. That's just life. They are lazy and they'll just say it, I'm lazy. And some people will do it because they are lazy and therefore they don't get the results because they're lazy. So they just have to decide to change their ways. Low energy. Low energy. What do you think I mean by low energy? Do you want to pop in the chat box? What do you think I mean by low energy? Low energy. So low energy could be you're not feeling well. Low energy could be that you are not eating well. You just feel tired, losing your mojo, as Grant says. So we've got to think about, when do you have low energy? So if it's you're eating the wrong foods, or you've been drained by somebody's company, it could be that you're spending time with the wrong people and it's just draining your energy. So look at what you're eating, who you're hanging around with, how you're feeding your mind, how you're feeding your body, because these all count to our energy levels. Again, exercise. How many times have I been to the gym or worked out and I feel more energized after exercising than I did before exercising? So sometimes the hardest part of going to exercise is actually getting your trainers on and your gym gear and getting to the destination. That's often the hardest part. So I need to think about that. How many times in your life have you gone to the gym or done exercise and the hardest bit was getting there? So low energy. So look at what actually gives you your energy, your fuel. Lack of focus and direction. Again, if you're not focused, if you're not even got direction, speak to someone. Speak to someone, get professional help. So somebody can help manage the way you think and to get you focused. Reflect perhaps with your partner, or your wife, or a friend, if that's something that appeals to you more. But getting that direction, directional analysis allows you to focus so that you get excited. Learned behavior is the next one. And we might have learned to procrastinate through our parents, whoever cared for us when we were bringing us up, the carers. Where did you learn this from? Could it have been someone close to you and they're a procrastinator, so you became like them? So you've got to think about that. Think about, where did I learn it from? But that's only the first step, really. It's moving forward and actually doing the work. Underestimating time. So sometimes we underestimate the time it takes to do something and then we panic. So a good way of doing it is to, when you plan something, is to actually factor it in the day with your productivity and your time, and managing your time, managing your energy. So actually looking at your day and factor in what needs to be done, how long you think it's going to take, and add some more time on top of that in case you are running behind. So underestimating time taken to do a task. Low moods and depression. Again, if your moods are low or you've got depression, then that's something that needs to be helped, needs to be treated through professional help. That's as simple as that. And it's something that you can do. You can do very, very easily by opening up to someone. I know it's a difficult process, opening up, but it's just making that initial step for help. You know, as guys, we tend to hold things in, and we've got this man up, grow a pair, you know, be a man thing going on, which is something that's been said to us over the years. Unfortunately, then we take it into our adulthood, and we then, as a consequence, we don't go for help. So if you need help, get help. It could be the best investment you ever make in yourself, to be honest. Perfectionism, I mentioned perfectionism earlier on. Self-confidence. Self-confidence is something that is so important to us, self-confidence. And I talk about it a lot in various guises in my book and the program, Let It Go, because it's the foundation. Imagine your life as a house. That foundation that we call the foundation of our house is otherwise known as self-confidence. And when you feel good, when you feel comfortable in your own skin, you behave in a different way. When you second guess yourself, or you're worried, or you are doubting yourself, have you noticed you can't think straight, you mess your words up, you don't say what you want to say, you don't fight your corner, you're not assertive, and at that point you can then as a consequence not make a decision to take any action. So self-confidence is extremely important. Confidence comes from the Latin word, by the way, confidere, to have faith in yourself. If you think of an area in your life that you don't feel confident in, and if you are true to yourself, go and do some work on it. Work on yourself. Join a program, a course, read a book, get professional help to work on that confidence, because if that self-confidence is going to transform the way you do business, then isn't it worth it? Of course it is. So self-confidence, self-esteem is how much you value yourself, how much you value your time, your energy. This again is self-explanatory. Comfort zone. So I want to ask everyone on here, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much are you in your comfort zone? 10 being high, 1 being low. How much are you in your comfort zone? Anybody want to just pop in the chat box? How much are you in your comfort zone? Are you high, definitely in my comfort zone, or are you low? Do you want to pop it in the chat box? How much are you in your comfort zone? Don't be shy. How much are you in your comfort zone? Grant says 7. Yeah, I'll probably echo that. Gail says 6. Okay. Chris says 5 out of 6. Interstar says 7. Thanks, brilliant guys. So it's great. It's great to just realize, because it's no shame to be in our comfort zone. Absolutely not. The only shame would be if you're avoiding the truth. You know, if you know you're in your comfort zone, but you just can't openly say it, because it's absolutely no problem being in your comfort zone. It's really, the problem is do something about it. And when we do something about it, it's really uncomfortable. It's really it can cause anxiety, fear. But when you come out of your comfort zone, the boundary grows, because there's lots of things that you used to do or used to feel you don't feel anymore, because your comfort zone is expanded. The whole point is to be always expanding your comfort zone, always expanding it, and to say things like, you know, what in my life is non-negotiable anymore? What's non-negotiable? When you do that, because I'm sure there are things in your life which are now non-negotiable, which weren't before. So look back at what you think is now the norm, but once wasn't the norm. And then you can see, wow, you have grown, you have changed. That's what personal growth is all about. When your comfort zone is actually different to someone else's, because you can go that much further. Fear. Again, fear can keep us locked in our comfort zone. I've mentioned it throughout this workshop. Fear of not being good enough, fear of failure, fear of rejection, you know, fear of standing out. All these things can actually stop us from taking action. So it is about taking action. And where does fear reside? It actually resides and originates in something called the blueprint. And I've talked about this in the other workshops extensively. Our blueprint, which is like our software, it's like our Microsoft software, Windows for a PC, and OS X for the Macs. So this software produces your thoughts automatically and feelings and the behavior. So if your thoughts are waking up in the morning and having to reach out to someone for help, but if your thoughts are, well, they'll think less of me, I'll look vulnerable, I'll feel vulnerable, they're going to think they've got one over me, or I'm going to be less of a person, then you're going to start feeling not good enough, uneasy, and then your action and behavior could be to procrastinate. Even though you need the help, you're just procrastinating, So the whole point is reach out for help. So, personally, I used to do that all the time, but I just reach out for help. If a person can't help you, they can't help you. That's just the way it is. But you just reach out to someone else, to people you trust. So I want you to keep thinking about where in your life are you procrastinating? Where in your life? Is it in your relationship? Is it with your body, your health? What do you put? Is it, you're frustrated. You want to read more books, but you just keep procrastinating. You keep buying books, put them on the shelf. You call it shelf development, but you're not doing it. Where are you procrastinating? Think about that. Is it with your exercise, diet? Is it some part of your business that you procrastinate? Actually, I'm quite open to it. Where in your life do you think you're procrastinating? Do you want to pop in the chat box? Where in your life are you perceivably procrastinating? Do you think, what element? Anybody want to share anything in the box about procrastinating? Where could you be procrastinating? Remember, this is quite a safe space. So where could you be procrastinating? Anybody want to put up in the chat box? Business, Grant says, yeah. I'd say the same thing, business. Anybody else want to tap it in the chat box? Where could you be procrastination? I'm sure your wife or husband's not watching. Say whatever you want to say. Okay, right. So it could be any area of your life. But then, to be brutally honest with you, you being here is phenomenal. That you didn't procrastinate on your personal growth. That's, I always honor anyone who goes to a training or a workshop like this and wants to better themselves or learn one thing. If you just go away with one thing, completely respect to you all, actually, to be honest. And if you're watching this on record, then where were you? But the fact that you're watching it is awesome. Is awesome. So I used to procrastinate. Years ago, I wanted to speak in front of people, and I wanted to share a message that you're good enough, and I ended up then breaking my procrastination. And how I did that was I thought, is my fear greater than the need to share the message? And that's when I got over my fear of public speaking, of delivering content in person or online. I got over myself. That's exactly what I did. I had to get over myself, and then I worked with different organizations like the British Dental Association, and I worked with the universities and the government Department of Work and Pension. So there was a lot of organizations I've worked with in this country and abroad, and it was a case of just putting it out there. And I put it out there daily on Instagram. If you're already on Instagram, there I am. I put it out messages every day to help people get past their own SHIT. So I want to just share with you some tools where you can beat procrastination and do it on a daily basis. And I know we're coming to the latter part of this workshop. So the first one is, I call it frictionless thinking. And I think I got this term from the book about habits. I can't remember the author's name. Anyway, frictionless thinking is when we don't have to think about something. So for example, it could be, you say to yourself, I want to go to the gym straight after work. So a really good way of doing it is getting all your kit ready in the place where you don't have to even think. I do it first thing in the morning, so it's all ready there. I don't have to think, where are the socks, where are my shorts, where are my trainers. It's there and ready, because when you've woken up from slumber, the last thing you want to do is think. And frictionless thinking is putting something in place before you do the action. You might be wanting to bake a cake and you're thinking, you do it off the cuff and you find out the ingredients missing. So literally put all the ingredients on a shelf for that cake sometime before. So when you do get around to it, you open the cupboard, it's there, and it's frictionless thinking. You not even have to think. And the reason I say that is because if you've got friction in your thinking, what do you think that can cause you to feel if you've got friction in your thinking? Does anybody want to put it in the chat box? If you've got friction in your thinking, what do you think what are the emotions you can feel if your mind is racing everywhere and you've got friction in your thinking? Does anybody want to type in the chat box? Overwhelm, yeah, definitely. So you can be overwhelmed, I'll put in there. It can be stress, anxiety. It can be anger, frustration. Think of it. Think of the times in your life where you couldn't find what you wanted. You're looking for a pad because you wanted to write some notes down, or you're looking for the remote control for your TV. You couldn't find it. You're getting frustrated. Or you're looking for, where's my trainers gone? I want to go out running. You couldn't find them. So it's you actually setting yourself up for success. Setting yourself up for success. And you can do it quite quickly, simply by actually planning ahead. And it's called frictionless thinking. It's so easy. The next thing I want to share with you is break down a goal or a task. Now, specifically, I did this when I was writing my book, which is, they're going to be, I can't remember chapters there are, but let's say there's 10 chapters. So if I did one chapter a month, it would take 10 months. I could break that one chapter in the month. I can do a fraction of that chapter every weekend. So every Sunday, you could just spend an hour and a half, 2 hours every Sunday at some point writing a quarter of that chapter. So it takes you 4 weeks to do it. So if you think about it, if you break something down, the logical, thank you, Grant, the logical way is to break it down. So work in reverse. Work in reverse. When you do that, it'll be much to your satisfaction. So break down a goal or a task. Do it in reverse. So think of something that you want to do right now and break down the task. Break it down. So if you think it's going to take you 6 months, then it's going to take you 6 months. What can you do every month? And when can you do it every month? What day can you do every month? And what time can you do every month? So it might be every Friday in the month, every Friday, I'm going to look at how my week went, and I'm going to look at what went right, what didn't go right, and I'm going to plan for the next week, and I'm going to spend 20 minutes every Friday at 6 p.m. doing that. And then on Sunday, every Sunday at 6 p.m., non-negotiable, I'm going to plan my week ahead based on my results of last week, something like that. So easy, but you've got to say, my non-negotiable time is this time. And that way you make a commitment to yourself. Okay. A list. So having a list, and list, what do I mean by list? Well, list, we all have to-do lists, and this to-do list can be massive. What you do is you look at that list, and then you then decide what 2 or 3 things must I do today? What are the non-negotiables that I must do today? You can use I tend to use these cards, these little cards. So you can take this card and you can pop in your pocket. You always see the list of things that need to be done and then tick them. There's nothing better than ticking them or putting a line through it to say completed, done. You feel good every evening after you've done it. And if you haven't done it, it's fine. just carry it on to that list for tomorrow, and then put it as a must-do list, as a must-do. So we will never, ever do everything on our to-do list. It's impossible, because things are happening all the time. Something needs to be done around the house. Something needs to be done for the car or the business. So you need to buy those flowers for your wife because it's Mother's Day is coming up, whatever. If we put them on this to-do list and then grab 3 to 4 things every single day, you'll find your productivity increases. And things that you used to put off, you don't put off anymore. So that list is very, very important. Journal. Often it's good to just to write your thoughts down. And this relates to when you're overthinking stuff and putting down your thoughts. When we put down our thoughts, it's equivalent of juggling your thoughts most of the time, but getting those thoughts and putting down on paper, you can see it. So it doesn't have to be a journal. It can be just a piece of paper, and then do it somewhere where you feel comfortable. If you don't mind doing it when people are around, you can do it anyway. You can do it at home when your family around, or you can do it in a coffee shop. Just sit there and on a piece of paper, just journal your thoughts or ideas. And this often can get you excited. It gives you clarity. It gives you that purpose that you're looking for, and you can identify ideas, and it gets you moving, because it's all about momentum. Remember, momentum is key. So always think about your mission and vision, because you're all here in business. You all have a mission, a vision. You know, a mission is so important. A mission. What do I need to complete by the end of, say, March or the end of April? What do I need to complete by July this year for the first 6 months? What do I need to complete? What do I need to complete by the end of this year? So keep asking yourself these questions. Keep checking in with yourself. And if hopefully you're writing this down, what do I need to complete? ... So mission and vision. The technique that I love to do is the Pomodoro technique. Pomodoro is related to tomato in Italian, and Pomodoro used to be like a timer that housewives and people used to have in the 1970s, and it was the shape of a tomato, and you'd have it in the kitchen, and you'd have a timer on, so you could time how long you wanted to put something in the oven for. These days we've got digital clocks and mobile phones, and we've got Alexa. You can tell Alexa, set the time of 30 minutes. And Alexa will tell you after 30 minutes. But the Pomodoro technique is based on Francisco Cirillo's work. And he suggested that when we're up against the time element, it's almost that thrill element. So this is a take really on the daredevil, but you're using it to your advantage. Remember earlier on I mentioned the daredevil was the type of procrastinator, but this is using the Pomodoro technique to say, right, 30 minutes. It could be something like housework or ironing. I'm giving myself 30 minutes to iron as much as possible. So you put the ironing on and you're doing it for 30 minutes, music playing or an audio book, and you're ironing. So you're up against it. So it's almost, if you can call ironing exciting, the most exciting thing you can do, because you've actually put it on a timeline with a time element. Okay, so that's the Pomodoro technique. So what I wanted to do with you guys before I go, before I answer questions, and 2 ways I can help you today. If you're any of these, stress, stuck, self-confidence, low moods, reach out to me. Reach out to me if you've got any, you want to work on any of these, then reach out to me, because this could unlock your business. So it's hello@mind.coach, and I mentioned the book a couple of times. So please reach out or grab the book, and I'm quite happy to actually help you out, get past that mindset. So anybody have any questions that we could go through in terms of overcoming this thing called procrastination? Please fire away. You can unmute yourself, or you can type in the chat box. Really happy to help you.
I've got one for you, mate, whilst we're waiting. The Pomodoro technique is something that, I think it's one of those examples of something that I've heard of it, but I've never really used it. Can you give me a little bit more information about how you use it? Is it
Yeah, sure. So some days, you're thinking, right, I don't fancy, I've not any time to go to the gym. I haven't got any time to go for a run in the morning.
Mm,
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do as much exercise as I can in 11 minutes.
right.
So there's an app, and I'll put the app on, 11 minutes. It shows the exercises, and then you just do it, and you feel really, really good. So when you're up against the time, and this is where the beauty of it is as well, and discipline is switch your tech off. So if you're, for example, writing writing an email or writing a project, and you must be undisturbed, then you have to switch off the tech except for your timer, and you can set a time limit. Now the brain works in 20-minute segments. After 20 minutes, it tends to get slightly bored. That's why TED Talks are only 17 minutes long, because the scientists realize that the brain tends to wander,
Mm.
and that we as people should take a break every 90 minutes from an intense piece of work. So 90 minutes. So what I tend to do is, if I was going to do, say, if anybody's watching this and they think, right, where can I apply this? Say, for example, your emails, and you've got to look at your emails. Instead of looking at them every 5 minutes, or every switching on your Gmail and looking in, just factor in a time. Say, I'm going to look at the emails, let's say 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to go through the emails, what I need to be done, and be done with it. And then factor in another time. It could be 12 o'clock, 20 minutes to look at my emails. So you're actually taking control of your time rather than it taking control of you. Does that answer your question, Grant?
It does. It does. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. It's all sort of micro time management.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions on what we've gone through?
You can just unmute yourselves, guys. Anybody, or pop something in the chat if you've got any questions about that.
Yeah.
Be nice to know which of the procrastinators you identify with.
Yes.
Because yeah, I can definitely identify with a couple of those. That last minute one.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, the Daredevil.
Yeah, Daredevil.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I have a good question, and you're actually kind of just touched on it. Like when you're talking about the 5 different types of procrastination, I think I'm 4 out of 5. Is that typical? I guess, like, depending on the task you're procrastinating dictates what type you are.
Yes, it is. It's quite common to be multiple types of procrastinator, because we're just human beings at the end of the day, with our fears and doubts and worries. So it all depends, Chris, on really the emotional baggage we're carrying that can often influence what types of procrastinating we are. But at the end of the day, at least thanks for sharing. You've kindly identified exactly that you are tick this, tick that, 4 out of 5. But that's just the first start, really. The second thing is, I'd love to ask you is, which of the techniques do you think you could use for yourself that would help you overcome certain areas of procrastination, Chris?
Which of the techniques? Well, one of the types I think I fall into would be self-saboteur. And look, I'm taking notes as during your presentation. And for me, and Grant and I have spoken this a bit. I have a call reluctance, we'll call. And I know one of the things I do sometimes is where'd it go? I wait until it's too late in the day to make my dials. So then internally I go, well, I can't call now. It's 6 o'clock at night. Right? So it has to wait till tomorrow. I've missed my window of opportunity. But during my window of opportunity, I made sure that I was busy doing things that didn't really need to be done. So I sabotaged myself that way.
Yes. May I ask, why do you think you are self-sabotaging?
Because I don't, that's the one part that I find the most difficult. It's like once I'm on the call, I'm actually talking to someone. I'm perfectly fine. I'm in my comfort zone. But making that dial, that first call, and I think it's more about the uncertainty of what I'm going to be facing, and it's new to me. It's a new skill I'm trying to build, so my self-confidence is low.
Yeah, no, completely understand you. Completely understand you. You know, after this session, just write down, just a tip, just write down what you're feeling about the first call. You know, what's that feeling? What's that doubt and worries going through the first call? If I put my email address up there, I'm very happy if you want to email me, if you want to jump on a Zoom at some point and have a quick chat. Very happy to help you beat that, because it's only a habit changer. It's only something that once you break that habit, Chris, and there's a layer below that, the habit, and that's something's going on there. You know, I can't say it because I don't know you, but if I spoke to you, I'd be able to help you to identify it even at a deeper level, because once you clear away that garbage, you'll be okay. It's really the underlying, there's always an underlying reason why somebody doesn't do something. Yeah, so feel free to email me, and if you want to set up a quick Zoom, we can do that. No problems.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I didn't get your email address. I just got the H part down, and you switched your screen.
Yeah. I'll put in the chat box. hello@mind.coach.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's quite simple. So it's just 3 words. Yeah, feel free. I want to help, so let's see what we can do.
Oh, great. I appreciate that. Thank you.
No worries. Anybody else want to sort of jump in? And
I think I really appreciate Chris saying that, because call reluctance is such a common thing in business, you know. And in most businesses, when you're starting out, you've got to have conversations with people to make sales. If you're in that B2B space, it's just what you have to do, and it's such a common thing. And actually, you know, first thing you've got to do is admit that you've got call reluctance, because a lot of people don't even admit that they have got call reluctance. They try and tell themselves they're busy doing other things.
Do you know, a lot of people actually don't like being on the phone. I know some people who they like face-to-face interactions, but when they pick up the phone, they're different people. They actually don't like being on the phone. I love being on the phone. I don't have a problem with that, but I know people who are really super confident in real life, but when they come on the phone, something happens. And it's fascinating, but it is all about, you know, fear of being judged, fear of not being liked, fear of being shut. There's all these things going on, and it's the reasons why we don't pick it up. There's a reason. We can't really sort of pretend we don't have it. Just overcome the reasons, and then you'll do it. You won't have a problem then.
I appreciate that, Chris.
Yes.
Anybody else want to admit they've got call reluctance? Because I bet you all have.
Unmute. Okay.
Awesome.
Well,
all right, guys.
You know, reach out, guys, if and please share the information today. If you've learned anything, please share it, or just discuss it with someone, and you just get to learn it twice.
Well, I'm going to get this onto our Blam TV channel. I'll get it recorded, get the recording on there, and pop it through to Facebook as well. Really appreciate this again, David. Absolute legend as always. And I just think this one is such an important one, because, like you say, we all procrastinate. There's not one person that we meet in this world who doesn't have some form of procrastination. I don't care how efficient and effective you are. We're all striving to beat procrastination. It is a disease. And you know what? We've all got it. We can all put our hands up to it. So thanks so much, David. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, mate.
Brilliant. And thanks, guys, for joining us today. And thanks for you watching on the rerun. More of this kind of stuff to come. We really appreciate David coming in and helping us. But let's beat this thing, procrastination, together, guys. Let's use these tips. and let's get it done. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.